creating people who fly. You're about to do that. You're working with the Man of Steel, which is coming out, the next Superman film. I know you can't talk specifics about the film, but just give us a sense of what the challenges were of redoing a character who's so familiar to people and sort of bringing something new to the table there.
Well, I mean, that's obviously driven by Zack Snyder and you know, his feeling for the character and what he wanted to bring as far as, you know, telling the story and bringing it to sort of a modern audience.
Right.
Our part of it, for the most part, was just setting the scene for him. You know, getting everything created in a way that the story becomes believable and can kind of move in the direction that Zack was envisioning.
And is that tricky with a character like Superman, who's been around for so long and people have a certain sense of who Superman is? When you go to set about visually changing Superman, how do you do that?
Well, you have that with any film that you work on. I mean, Lord of the Rings, Hobbit are a good example. They're books where, you know, these things exist in people's imaginations. You know, the first time we did Gollum, for example, we were all wrestling with this picture that we had of him in our heads and just trying to figure out, is this the one that everyone's going to look at and say, that's what I imagined when I read the book? And I don't know, you kind of look for these sort of universal sensibilities and you try to just go back to the original text as much as possible and see if you know, if everything kind of rings true. And if you can do that enough, you'll probably come up with something that everyone will more or less, you know, agree on, or at least read into a part of what they either remember or imagine bringing to their vision of the character.
And you think people will do that with Superman?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and we think there'll be a wow factor too?
I think there will be, just because the film's just got a great look. It just really feels, I don't know, different, but in a very familiar way. It's hard to explain. It takes you into new territory, but it's also very comfortable.